This is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome back, one and all, to Scramble Drill. It is Josh Johnson, Ben Watts, coming at you with a Week 9 recap episode on a nice, very dark Monday evening. It is...
Yeah, I hate daylight savings time.
Oh, don't even get... We could talk for 30 minutes about the evils of daylight savings time. There's nothing good.
I mean, why did we have it in the first place? Was it farmers?
It was the farmers. Have they not heard of alarm clocks?
How many farmers are there anymore? Is it 6?
We
do this for 6 farmers?
Yes. We are ruining This is why so many kids are struggling with mental health problems, because it gets dark at 4:30 at night and you can't function anymore.
This is why the obesity problem is daylight savings.
We're doing it because of 6 farmers in Iowa.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Iowa, but nobody cares. You guys will be okay. You can get up a little bit earlier, adjust your sleep schedule accordingly. You'll be all right.
Anyway, it is our usual run-of-the-mill recording time, and there's usually daylight.
What the heck is wrong with that?
When we hit record, and it's been dark for 2 hours. So it's just fun times.
Yeah, no, I never get to see the sun when I work anymore.
Isn't that the worst? Like, you wake up and it's dark, you drive to work, and then you leave and it's dark again.
I get to see the sun for like 6 minutes at lunch.
That's so much fun.
It sucks.
So great for all the mentals. Anyways, we've got some news to hop into before we break down all of the goodness and badness of Week 9 fantasy football.
It was very hit or miss.
It was hit or miss. I mostly missed, I'll be honest with you. Not a lot of good.
I was 50-50.
I mean, I won in
but not 50-50 in the places I would like to be.
Exactly. That is 100%. That's how fantasy football works, man. I've got like a couple best ball leagues that I mean, you don't manage the team, so you just check it every week. It's like, oh, how'd the team do? Those teams are doing quite good. They're just humming along. The work fantasy league, I'm like number 1 in points, doing real good. It's great. Problem is, the leagues that I care about, that I have my soul invested in, the teams are not quite doing what we need them to do to get us playoff spots.
I will say the Mully team, for me, the boys came through this week, unless for some reason the Chiefs defense outscored Travis Kelce by like 15 points. I don't see it happening, so I would like to see I can lock that one in the win column. But the log team let me down. And I don't want to point fingers, but it was entirely Kyler Murray's fault.
Oh, he was bad.
He was horrendous.
We can talk about it when we get to it. But yeah, I've had Kyler Murray all year in the work league, and thankfully it didn't matter. But he was terrible.
I have one prayer. I'm not optimistic it happens, but I could still pull out the win in log. But I need Kareem Hunt to outscore Rachaad White by 9 points. I don't think it's going to happen.
It could happen. I mean, last week we did not think the Pittsburgh Steelers would outscore Malik Neighbors, and that happened.
That is very true, they did. Yet another week, one of my rebuilding teams wins, so that's fun. They're killing it. Great job, guys.
Don't you love that? Doesn't that make you feel so warm and fuzzy inside when your team wins when they're not supposed to?
Yeah, guys, I think you... Actually, in that league, I've got no shot at the 101, but I would at least like the 104. That'd be nice. No.
That team where I sold the farm won.
I'm gonna be the first team. What?
That team that I sold the farm. I'm starting.
Did you win again?
I won again. I did not have a quarterback in the super flex spot. I had Noah Brown as my super flex, and
Of course, he was Jaden's favorite target this week.
He was. Have not hit 100 points yet, and I'm still going to win.
I love that for you. That's so funny.
I am going to miss the median by about 70 points, and I'm going to win by 12.
I mean, this is why we use max points for. Like, you're not going to make the playoffs, so it doesn't matter.
No. The problem is this team is terrible, and there's like 4 teams that apparently are worse.
Couple by like a lot worse.
You're 9-7 and have less max points for than I do. How did that happen?
I don't know, because I also have the most points against in that league. I'm 8th in points for, like 10th in max points for, 1st in points against, and somehow or another is 9-7.
Have you been living off the median?
I don't understand.
What is going on?
No, I think what happens is I either get boat race like 200 to 100, or I win like 150 to 100.
I've got the second most points against in that league, and see, this is frustrating. When you go and look at, if I would have tried this year, that team probably makes the playoffs. With the way that the roster started at the beginning of the year, probably a playoff team.
I think you could have made it.
Anywho.
Oh, well.
Some injuries. A.J. Brown, he had like a knee injury. I saw that they did a scan or an MRI today, and there was no structural damage. It was a bruise, essentially, so he's fine. Probably plays next week.
So he's not out for the season.
He is not. Thank goodness.
Dang it.
Dak Prescott injured his hamstring, and he apparently is a candidate for IR. It does seem like you're looking at a lengthy time off for Dak with this hammy.
Yeah, I've heard he's probably going to go to IR.
Some of the reports I've seen are not season-ending, but like sort of like the Isaiah Pacheco injury. Their season is done. They might just shut him down. But it was like the Pacheco injury where it's not a season-ending injury, but he's gone for like 8, 9, 10 weeks, which is kind of a season-ending injury, at least for Pacheco.
Yeah, they're not making the playoffs, so... Yeah, it's not happening for them. And CeeDee's got an injury, too.
Yeah, he injured a shoulder. He's week to week.
I mean, oh, man. Yeah, the Cowboy season's over. And with Dak going to miss a lot of time, you bump CD down anyway. So, I don't know.
Did we say Dennis Allen got fired?
We didn't, but he did.
It happened. They won their first 2 games of the year.
As a Falcons fan, that sucks.
Yeah, because they're terrible.
I would like to see Dennis there.
They are. Did you see the Cam Jordan tweet where he said he was tweeting to the Saints fan base and he's like, "I can't believe we lost to the Panthers. I'm so sorry." And then J.C. Horn, corner for the Panthers, quote tweeted it and said, "Am I tripping or do we have the same record? What's going on here?" They lost to the Panthers.
He's right, I think.
And it got the coach fired, and somehow everybody was shocked in the Saints building that they lost, not realizing, I guess, that they're also very, very bad themselves.
Somehow or another, Dennis Allen got fired before Mike McCarthy, and Dennis Allen beat Mike McCarthy 44-19 this year.
Wow. That did happen, didn't it? They were really good for 2 weeks.
Yep. So the Panthers now have gotten, is it 2 coaches have been fired because of the Panthers? They got, was it the Raiders fired their coach?
They have
or
not.
Their offensive coordinator?
They let go their offensive coordinator.
No, they fired their offensive coordinator. Who else did they get? I swear the Panthers got another coach fired this year. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong person. Anyway.
I mean, the Panthers indirectly facilitated the Devontae Adams trade because he was one of the players that might have made a business decision when the Panthers monkey stomped the Raiders.
That's true. And they could, if they beat Brian Dable and the Giants next week, they could get him fired too.
They could. How about the Giants, man? Because Dable was kind of the darling of the league for getting that roster to the playoffs a couple years ago. And now the way people talk about him is kind of the way people talk about Shane Waldron as the Bears offensive coordinator. The offense is uninspired, gross, and who
also could be looking for a job soon.
I hope so. He's terrible. Terrible.
Well, it might be the whole staff. Eberflus might be gone.
Yeah. Shall we go through the games?
We're off topic. Let's do it.
Jets beat the Texans on Thursday night. Real quick rundown here. Aaron Rodgers looks good, 3 touchdowns. Devontae Adams has 90 yards and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson has 90 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Garrett Wilson has really found his stride.
Yes, he has. I will say, though,
absolute beast.
This Jets offense is really odd week to week because there's not an apparent formula. Maybe they figured it out. Maybe Thursday was the formula. You just throw to Devontae and Garrett Wilson all night, and that is how they're going to win. But it's at times they have been a good running team, and at other times they've been a terrible running team. At times they throw to the backs. Other times they don't throw to the backs. I don't really know how to, prescribe.
That just means I don't trust Breece Hall. He's still an RB1.
Yeah.
But I don't trust him as a top 5 guy right now.
I don't really either. And I guess with a player like that that we've seen break big plays off any given week, he hasn't been doing it with the same regularity that he used to. I don't know.
And maybe, optimistically, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams doing what they did will create some lighter boxes, maybe. Because, they've been having to stop him because the Jets' passing game has been so anemic.
Maybe.
We'll see.
On the flip side, C.J. Stroud did his best Anthony Richardson impersonation and went 11 for 30 for 191 yards. Richardson got benched for going 10 for 32.
He did a good job, I would say.
It was a 1-for-1.
It's very accurate.
They were
excellent
so
costume,
bad.
CJ. Excellent costume.
Yeah, he's dressed up for Halloween like an absolute champ.
Yeah, that's really good.
11 for 30. That's wild.
You know who it didn't affect?
Tank Dell.
Joe Mixon.
Oh. Yeah. Joe Mixon was very good.
Tank Dell, too.
Tank Dell had all the receiving yards. It was Tank Dell, Robert Woods had a couple.
Take out every other receiver.
Yeah.
Tank Dell owners have been frustrated. Take out every other receiver, and now he's good.
Yeah. He's quite good. They legitimately only had 3 players catch a pass from C.J. Stroud. It's wild.
Ghost of Robert Woods was out there. That's impressive.
Yeah. But Joe Mixon, yeah, very good. Has been good all year. Joe Mixon's really fun because he is the kind of guy that is really, really good with a heavy workload. Not all running backs are built for it, and I feel like he's the kind of guy that sort of like Derrick Henry. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying, but sort of like Derrick Henry wears defenses out and just gets better as the game goes.
I'm hearing what you're saying. He's not Derrick Henry.
No, he's not. But
I'm hearing what you're not saying.
But he will wear a defense out.
Josh just said Joe Mixon is Derrick Henry.
Oh, jeez. Okay. The Cowboys lost again.
But yes, he's a bell cow. He's a thumper.
He's an absolute thumper. Cowboys lost again. Your Falcons are 6-3, Ben.
Well done, gentlemen. And we lost Drake London on the opening drive. Didn't matter.
Were you excited about Kyle Pitts going 1 for 11?
Lost Drake London on the opening drive. Kyle Pitts still has 1 target for 1 catch. And Bijan doesn't score. Tyler Algier scores. Darnell Mooney goes off. Dominates against you in the Mully League. Side note, had to rub that in. Bijan still does great.
I got monkey stomped
He's got that.
by Darnell Mooney and Zay Flowers.
A guy, one of the guys we've much maligned on this show, and another we just didn't really care about because he hasn't been a factor. Do we need to have a conversation about Darnell Mooney?
He's pretty good, and he gets targets.
I mean, he's been having a great season.
Yeah. He, I haven't really paid attention to exactly how they deploy him. Probably should have done that. But he is having, he's on pace to have his best season as a pro. And, he's getting somewhere between 7 and 10 targets a game from Kirk Cousins, which is kind of surprising. I'm not going to lie.
You like 7 to 10 Kirk Cousins targets.
You really do. That's why Bijan Robinson is just fine even though he doesn't score.
Bijan gets you 10 points just from his receiving every week. Like, he's got a baseline of 10 receiving points. So then whatever else he gets in the rushing game is just the cherry on top.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. If he would just score a touchdown every single week, if he would get the Kyron Williams red zone treatment, he would be the number one running back in fantasy.
Tyler Algier.
Anyhow.
It's frustrating. I don't even think we need to talk much about the Cowboys. Rico Dowdle finally looked good, but Dak Prescott's out, so I don't care.
Great. I did not want to talk about the Cowboys. Dolphins, Bills.
No. Drop everybody with no Dak. Like, not drop, but like drop them down your rankings.
Yeah.
Don't drop CeeDee. That's not what I'm saying.
No. Yeah. You find CeeDee Lamb on the waiver wire. Oh, what do we have here?
Ben said to drop him. I don't know what he's...
The Dolphins-Bills was a wonderful game. Tua came back,
Excellent
and all
game.
of a sudden, all the Dolphins just resurrected from the dead.
Well,
And
not all of them.
well,
Jalen Waddle out here with one of the greatest stat lines I have ever seen. 2 receptions, -4 yards, and a touchdown.
did he get credited for like -20 yards on the last play of the game?
I think so, something like that.
That is an all-timer because he had one catch for the touchdown, and then on the final play of the game, I was scared that Devon Achane was going to get negatively affected by this. Achane laterals to Jalen Waddle, who immediately starts running in the wrong direction and gets tackled 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and it's just like it basically was a fumble on the last play of the game.
Excellent job, Jalen.
Wonderful work.
Send a trade for Jalen Waddle anywhere you can because that stat line is going to piss off the owner. Jalen Waddle's been disappointing as is. He has 1 double-digit game this year. 1.
That is terrible. I think he's got
That's bad.
1 game over 50 yards receiving, and it was in week 1.
Jalen Waddle, we Landon and I talked about this on the Dynasty episode, but side note for Dynasty, he has got to be the biggest buy I've ever seen in Dynasty. Like, you can probably get him for half of his startup price.
Probably. You could. He's to the point now where I don't even know if you've got to pay a first. You probably should pay a first, but we're getting in that.
Let's put it this way. I don't have Waddle anywhere, but if I had him, I would want a first. But I think there are plenty of teams out there where you don't have to pay a first.
Yeah, if I'm going to buy him right now, I'm trying not to pay the first.
I'm trying to send you Malachi Corley and a second. Like, that's
right.
That's my starting offer for Jalen Waddle.
I'm trying to yes, 100%. Other Dolphins here. Devon Achane, I looked this up so I could get the stat correct. He is a top 4 running back this season in fantasy football when Tua Tagovailoa plays. He does not have any finishes outside of top 5 when Tua Tagovailoa plays.
So, as much as people talk crap about Tua, can we at least give him his flowers of he is the engine of the offense? Everything
100%.
goes when Tua's in. Even if Tua's not great for fantasy, he makes everyone else great for fantasy.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill wasn't awesome. It was only 4 for 80, but at least there's a pulse. It is funny, though, how I mean, they've always been a running team, I think. I think it's fair to say. But
I think it's the same thing in San Francisco. It's that same system. They're built. The offense goes when the running game is explosive.
Right. And it's this combination of Achane and Mostert. And they're always super efficient. Both of them average over 5 yards a carry. But then there's the other thing where now, and this is why Achane's been so good, is he's getting 8 targets almost every single week. And so it makes it weird for the receivers. Like Jalen Waddle hasn't been very good, probably because Devon Achane's getting a lot of short area targets. And
he's getting all of his work.
Yeah, he's stealing work from everyone. And so it's making Tyreek Hill, I mean, I don't know if there's like a 1-to-1 correlation, but Tyreek Hill has not been as explosive because they've just been throwing the ball on like swing passes with blockers, and then Achane goes for like 11 yards every time. I don't know. It's great for Achane, not necessarily for everybody else.
Get rid of that too high safety garbage. Let Tyreek Hill loose.
That legitimately might be the answer for the offense for them. They're like, you're going to throw too high so you can stop our receivers. We're just going to swing it out to maybe one of the 4 or 5 most explosive after the catch players in the NFL out of the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, Achane's a top 5 back right now. There's no other way you can say it.
Yeah, he's been great. For the Bills, Josh Allen has 3 more touchdowns, just like you want.
That dog.
Got that
I
dog
want to say,
in him.
too, that interception was not his fault. I don't know if you saw it, but it hit Keon Coleman in the chest, and Keon decided that he wanted to throw it in the air.
I saw that one.
So,
Jalen Ramsey got a gift.
That's all. Yeah. That was not... Interception should be receiver stat, too. If he hits you in the hands and it gets picked, that's your fault.
It's the same way with the Bryce Young pick. He throws it to Xavier Legette. Great throw, by the way. Right in the bread basket.
I'm glad you mentioned that to remind me, because I wanted to say how good Bryce Young actually looked. Like, he had 2 or 3 perfect passes against the Saints that were the receivers either dropped or forced the receiver forced the pick, like kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh Allen had a little bit of that snake bitten on a play. Dalton Kincaid leads them in targets. He had 10.
Does nothing with it.
Did absolutely nothing with it. But he did have 10 targets, which I think was nice to see. The problem is they did it Sunday. They might not do it again.
Because Mark Cooper didn't play this game.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is James Cook was not good at all. And that was maybe a little bit alarming.
No, Ray Davis looks good. Ray Davis looks really good. Do we have sort of a ETN Bigsby situation brewing with the Bills?
It could be the sort of thing where next year there's a James Cook, Ray Davis problem, or maybe down the stretch. I think James Cook has been good enough to start the year that he's fine. I mean, last week he had
look
17
at the
for 100
workload.
yards.
The workload was still largely in favor of Cook. He had 10 carries. Davis had 4. He had 6 carries. 6 targets. Davis had 2.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it, though.
No.
I could see it being a thing next year where James Cook is in a contract year and they've got Ray Davis and he's really solid, and they just deploy a full-blown committee, and that way James Cook
Gives
is
us
cheaper.
a little thunderbolt in the backfield.
Yeah. Could be something to monitor, perhaps. Raiders-Bengals.
Shiesty's back. He's back.
5 tutties on
You
the
look
Raiders.
at Joe's stat line and says he has 5 touchdowns. How many do you think go to Jamar Chase?
You
Trick
would
question.
think,
None of them.
You would think a lot of them, but he had no touchdowns and only had 43 yards.
He did have 11 targets, 7 catches. It's kind of a Tyreek Hill situation. Like, they're having to use him close to the line of scrimmage because they're not letting him go over the top. They're just like shutting it down. Like, you do not get to catch the ball downfield.
I would think that they would do more with him, getting him moved around the formation, getting him in the slot out wide in motion, just to get him touches. I know he gets touches.
That's because Zach Taylor's offense is
I know it's
not
vanilla.
creative at all.
It's so vanilla. I know, but
Joe Burrow is carrying that man on his back.
yeah, Joe Burrow does cover up a lot of issues. How about Mike Gesicki off the couch, essentially? 5 for 102 touchdowns.
How about you picking him up in Mully, starting him getting 30 points, and you still lose?
That is brutal, but that's where we are.
That's got to be the most devastating losses is like you start a guy who has pick up a guy off waivers and he has 30 and you still lose.
I mean, I scored the second most points in the league this week, and I played the guy who had the most.
We've all been there. It sucks. But
It
Chase
is.
Brown, though.
Chase Brown, yes. 120 yards. He got 27 carries with no Zach Moss in the lineup.
I saw a report today that said Zach Moss is out indefinitely now with a neck injury.
Oh,
So is Chase Brown like a top 12 running back rest of season?
absolutely. As long as
Yeah.
Zach Moss is not in the lineup, Chase Brown is a top 12 running back.
Yes, that's where we are now.
He also had 37 yards receiving and a touchdown as well. On top of the 120
Toe
on
tap
the
in the
ground.
back of the end zone was impressive.
Yeah, holy. For the Raiders, I have nothing to
Don't
say. Nothing to say at all. We've been talking about Brock Bowers a lot. and he was fine,
Jacoby
but that's it.
Myers is flex worthy. Jacoby Myers is flex worthy.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
he's getting
he's-
so many targets.
He's a very solid NFL receiver.
Yep. Running backs don't matter because it's literally a three-headed backfield now with Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah, and Zamir White. I don't feel good starting any of them.
Yeah,
So-
they're The Chargers monkey stomped the Cleveland Browns 27-10.
Yes.
Your bright, your sweet prince. There we go. That's the thing I was
The
looking
Prince.
for. The Prince.
The Prince who was promised.
There we go. Justin Herbert.
The Lisan Al-Gaib, Justin Herbert.
282-2.
We got some vintage Herbert going on. You been watching this?
I texted you this earlier today. I don't know if you have been paying attention to the box scores, but as soon as they came out of their bye week, they had the early bye in week 4. Since the bye week, Justin Herbert has been throwing 30-plus times a game, and he has thrown for 230-plus yards a game. It's one of those, don't
Imagine
look
that
now,
when
but
you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league and you actually let him quarterback and good things happen. Imagine that.
it is impressive. I really
Dude,
think
if
what
they
happened...
trade Go ahead.
I just think they played the first 4 games, and they were fine. You know, the defense is great. The run game's great. But then they come out, and it's 34 attempts, 39 attempts, 32 attempts, 27 attempts. And that parlays into 237 yards, 350, 280, and then 280.
I think the 350 he didn't throw a touchdown that game,
He
which
did
is
not.
why his fantasy points were low, but he's finally he's starting to click with Ladd McConkey. Don't look now, but Quentin Johnston had a decent game. Josh Palmer wasn't bad. J.K. Dobbins is fine in the running game. Things might slowly be coming together. Knock on wood. They might be coming together for the Chargers offense. And our boy can finally do his thing. If they trade for a receiver, dude, it's over.
I don't know if you've been paying attention either, but there's a receiver playing for the Chargers that might be a good, dare I say it, startable in the NFL player, and his name is Quentin Johnston.
I mean, we've already been fooled once earlier in the season. Not getting fooled now because I'm not getting fooled now. We will have to wait and see.
He has 118 yards. I don't even know what the
Ladd
argument is
McConkey's
for him
still
at
the
this
number
point.
one target.
I mean, yeah, Lad McConkey is the number one, but Quentin Johnston, he's already got 500 yards on the season. So
That's because he's had like 2 150-yard games.
he's only had one
Because
game
he
over
doesn't,
100
but
yards.
has he only had one?
Yeah, this was his best game in terms
I
of
still don't
yards.
trust him. Quentin Johnston he's created so much distrust. I got to see like 6 weeks in a row before I trust it.
You got to see it a lot, yeah. On the flip side, for the Browns, Jameis Winston is back to his old Jameis Winston ways.
Well, he had to make up for it because he threw 3 touchdowns and no picks last week. So now he had to throw 3 picks this week to even it out.
And it did. They were back to the same old Browns. They were terrible. But I do think we need to have a conversation about Cedric
I feel like
Tillman.
I know who it's about. That one.
Last week in the Granddaddy the Mall, I tried to pick him up and spend, pretty much all the fab that was left, and I was outbid. And I felt really bad about it because in the last 3 games, Cedric Tillman was completely unused until 3 weeks ago. And then in the last 3 games, it's 12 targets, 8 for 81 against Cincinnati, 9 targets against Baltimore, 7 for 99 and 2 touchdowns. And then on Sunday, 11 targets, 6 for 75 and another touchdown. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but this reminds me quite a bit of the way that Amon-Ra St. Brown started his career. And I don't want to make the comparison of what Amon-Ra St. Brown turned into, but the start of the career. Yeah,
just a little bit.
I don't want to get ahead, but the start of the career is eerily similar where, situation changes a little bit and then he gets to play and he's good.
That's fair. Waiver wire for most of his early seasons, and then all of a sudden, bang. He's very talented. I'll give you that. He's very good.
That's I guess the thing is, I don't know how talented he is. He was a 2nd-round pick out of Tennessee.
Was he? It's true. What? I thought he was a 3rd-round pick. Maybe I'm wrong.
It might have been 3rd. I thought it was 2nd. I could be wrong. But it's taken a while. It was his rookie year. He did nothing. I think he is in his 3rd year, but I am not confident in that at all. No, he's drafted in 2023, and he was a 3rd-round pick.
Okay.
This could
Either
be
way.
This could be the Jameis Winston effect. It's a gunslinger playing quarterback, and maybe just the rest of the season, Cedric Tillman's awesome. But
hopefully so.
Where would you rank him right now? Like ballpark, because ranking wide receivers is impossible. But if you were to put him in a range rest of season, where would you rank him?
Rest of season? Oh, my gosh.
A range.
No idea. 25 to 30, that range maybe?
Okay. I was thinking like 15 to 25, but yeah.
I don't know if I go that high. Not yet. Not after how many weeks has he been good? Like 3? Yeah, I wouldn't put him in the top 50. I'm not putting him top 20 yet. I'd probably go 25 to 30.
Okay. That was the end of the conversation. That's all I needed to do there.
Okay.
Patriots Titans.
No, skip.
Drake May looked good. 95 yards rushing for Drake May.
Yeah, I think Drake May is the conversation player. That's the only one needs to be had a conversation about.
I didn't think he could run like that.
Dare I say, looks a little Josh Allen-ish out there.
That's kind of what I was thinking. That's sort of where I was going with that. He has a little bit of the crazy in him where he just will run, just goes and does it.
Got to have a little bit of that in you.
It is, he's been injured a couple times this year, so, there's that. But I think we've seen him be competent enough as a passer. The weapons aren't great, so like I think the future is really bright. But seeing the rushing, I think against Houston, he was 5 for 38 on the ground. Against the Jets, he was 3 for 46, and then Tennessee 8 for 95.
Yeah, I think he's entering he's definitely a streamable quarterback right now, and I think he is a huge buy in Dynasty. And it's not that even I've seen enough from him now, and this is one of the reasons like I was hesitant and I had Jaden Daniels ahead of him pre-draft, and obviously I was right, but like I wanted to see a little bit more. I thought he was raw, but I've seen enough now to where like, okay, I know he can do it. He's done enough passing to where like all he really had to do was not be Anthony Richardson levels of bad, and he has not been that bad. So I'm in on him. I'm definitely willing to buy him in Dynasty. I'm willing to have him as a backup streamer in redraft, especially because they're going to add somebody at some point to that receiving room. They're going to have to, obviously, but they're going to bring somebody in.
Yeah, you would think. I feel like they tried to with Ayuk and it didn't work, and I don't know that they're in the position to be buying any receivers at the deadline, but yeah,
maybe not at the
draft.
not at the deadline, but they're going to bring somebody in next year.
Yeah,
or they're going to be signing a T. Higgins type player.
I would be very excited for a T. Higgins to New England signing.
That would be pretty cool.
The Commanders beat the Giants 27-22. Jane Daniels, just like you chalked it up, quite good. Terry McLaurin has 2 catches. We need to talk
about Jane Daniels anymore.
No, we don't.
He's that guy.
We know exactly what he is because he's doing it every single week. Terry McLaurin has 2 touchdowns on 19 yards receiving. So that was interesting. 2 targets, 2 touchdowns. For the Giants, Daniel Jones the numbers don't look too bad. 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But the
finally had a home touchdown.
Yeah.
First time in 2 years.
His fantasy output is not half bad because he had 3 total touchdowns and 50 yards rushing.
He's got to be like the QB. He's got to be top. Is he top 15 at quarterback? No, he's quarterback 18.
Oh.
Still.
Malik Neighbors goes 9 for 59.
Streamable in the Superflex League. Malik Neighbors is a 42% target share. Still.
That's crazy.
This is part of the worry we had with Malik Neighbors. Is like I'm not willing to put him up there quite yet. I mean, he's definitely a wide receiver 1, top 10 for sure. But that offense is just so volatile. He's going to have volume, but he could have a game where he doesn't crack 60 yards like this one, even with nine catches. That's just what the offense is in the Giants.
Yeah. It's brutal. The Panthers beat the Saints. They got the win. They got Dennis Allen fired. Bryce Young looked, dare I say it, good as a starting quarterback.
Maybe he just needed to sit for a little bit. A lot of these young guys need to sit.
Yeah, I don't know how much he learned in his 3 or 4 weeks off, but he looks, like you said, he just looks a bit more confident, fluid, willing to take some of the chances that you need him to take, but also not do the really, really dumb stuff.
Trusting his arm a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. Obviously not for the Panthers. I don't want them to have a ton of success. But for Bryce Young's fantasy, I think it's worth keeping an eye on. Chuba Hubbard, maybe one last ride this week. Maybe this is his last ride. Jonathan Brooks, they said, will play next week. But until he's fully integrated, Chuba, it's been a good run.
And I guess the part of the Jonathan Brooks thing is you don't know how he's going to get used when he does get integrated. How integrated does he get? I don't know.
I'm curious to see it just because, what motivation do you have to kill your second-round pick running back?
Yeah.
None. There should be none. But we'll see.
And Chuba has been great. Maybe there's some bias talking there because I have benefited from Chuba Hubbard, but it is what it is. I think, too, the Panthers have found something in Jatavian Sanders, their tight end from Texas.
Yeah,
His 3 of his last 4 games, he's gone over, well, he had 49 yards, so almost 50 yards, but 5 for 49 against your Falcons, 6 for 61 against the Commanders. Didn't do anything against Denver, but then on Sunday, 4 for 87 as well.
Yeah.
You like that.
You do love to see it.
But other than that, there's really nothing to speak of from this game. I mean, Alvin Kamara was awesome, but no need to talk about Derek Carr.
Still keep him on the waivers. Or not on waivers, on your radar.
Yeah,
The only thing when you talk about Derek Carr with is the hospital ball he threw Chris Olave.
Did you see his press conference afterward when he talked about the fact that it was not a hospital ball, even though it sent a man to the hospital?
What was it, Derek?
He said it wasn't a hospital ball. It was exactly how you'd want to throw it. No, sir. It was high,
Directly
and it was leading
into
him
the safety?
into the safety. It's the definition. When you look up hospital ball in Urban Dictionary, that throw is what you're going to see.
A pass that is too high over the middle. That's a hospital ball.
Gah. I was a big fan.
If I'm Chris
of
Olave, I'm not taking another snap with Derek Carr.
Oh, he's gotten hit in the head so many times because of Derek Carr.
Dude, it's every week Chris Olave gets lit up by somebody.
Yeah. I was a big fan of the way Michael Thomas went in on Derek Carr on Twitter.
I mean, Michael Thomas did play with Drew Brees, one of the greatest of all time, so he probably didn't get a ton of hospital balls from that guy.
No, he did not. He did not whatsoever. The Ravens beat the Broncos 41-10. It was a massacre in every sense of the word. Lamar Jackson has 3 more touchdowns. Not a ton of time
do we need to spend here either.
One
team
much.
is just way better than the other one.
Not much at all. I think the Ravens are interesting because it seems like their offense has more answers than they have in years past. Like, they've always had a good offense, but it's not just Mark Andrews and one pass catcher. And this, where I'm going with this is, I think they're much more interesting in the playoffs than they have been, because it's not only Zay
not
Flowers,
fantasy related. It's more real life.
Yeah, more real life related. Derrick Henry opens play action up for them so much because he just demands so much attention. And not only do you have the usual suspects in Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, you got Isaiah Likely, and they just added Deontay Johnson, and Rashad Bateman has looked quite good. So it's a stable in that offense, and Lamar Jackson has been an excellent passer this year, along with what he does on the ground. So, like, this offense, it's kind of like the Lions. I truly don't know how you stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's another one of those, I got to see it from Lamar, because as much as I malign the Chiefs of, A, I want somebody like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow to win, and B, the Chiefs are not good for fantasy purposes, I fully understand what they are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And fully understand that is, I do not want to go up against Steve Spagnuolo. I don't care how good your offense is. He's going to have some kind of answer for it. You know Patrick Mahomes is not going to screw up in the playoffs. I got it. Lamar has got to show it in the playoffs. He's got to be the one to do it.
That's like the one thing left for him, because, I mean, he might be one of the better regular season quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah. And the knock on him is like, and people use it similarly with Josh Allen, but Josh Allen has played well enough to beat Patrick Mahomes on multiple occasions in the playoffs. It's just at one point or another something else, either his defense or something has gone wrong and he hasn't been able to win. But Lamar has never played well against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he's got to have a good game and be the reason they win.
He's honestly never really played all that well in the playoffs in general.
Yeah, he's got to be the reason they win.
Maybe they'll do it this year. They certainly have weapons and I think a well-rounded offense like what they have not quite had in years past.
Somebody needs to stop this Chiefs team somehow. Somebody's got to stop them.
Could happen. Eagles beat the Jaguars 28-23. At one point, though, it was 22-0. This was not quite as close, I think, as the score says it was.
The only thing I think we need to say is that was what I'm about to say. Everybody performed for fantasy how we would expect. Devonta Smith was good. A.J. Brown was getting peppered with targets before he got hurt. The running back situation in Jacksonville is atrocious. Evan Ingram got targets. I guess Brian Thomas wasn't amazing. But there's a play, and I'm assuming that's what you were about to bring up?
That is exactly what I was about to bring up, yeah.
Go ahead.
It was the juke into the reverse hurdle by Saquon that was probably the most insane non-touchdown I have ever seen in my entire life.
It's crazy. This week, we got 3 plays that will be up for play of the year. You got Garrett Wilson's one-hander toe shin tap in the back of the end zone.
Yep.
You got Saquon's, and you got Devonta Smith's toe tap one-hander in the back of the end zone.
Yeah. And I think Saquon's takes the cake. I mean, it was a 13-yard play.
I've never seen a backwards. I mean, my man put his butt in your face and jumped over you.
And
Are you kidding me?
It wasn't just the reverse hurdle. It was the setup juke before the hurdle where he gets a guy going one way and then whoop goes the other way and then spins around
he hit 3
and
different
jumps over
moves.
dude's head.
He hit 3 different moves. He hit the dead leg on one guy, spin into the reverse hurdle. My gosh. What goes through your head to think like, oh, I should do that? That seems like a good idea. Like that's some Josh Allen crap out there. Like, oh, I should jump into this safety. Like this seems like a smart idea.
It's just one of those things that makes you wonder what could have been if he didn't play for the Giants for so many years. Because he is 26, 27 years old, and he's just
27.
a freak athlete.
Oh, he's still got the juice. I think this is just motivation. He's still angry from those 4 or 5 years in New York. He's frustrated. He's venting right now.
His venting is amazing. I am here for it. It's incredible. He had 159 yards rushing, and he also gave you 40 yards and a touchdown on through the air as well. So he's
one of the most immaculate things to happen to fantasy in a long time.
He's incredible. They made him in a lab for fantasy football. The Jaguars suck. Trevor Lawrence is terrible, and Travis Etienne had 3 carries.
I mean, to be fair, Etienne is hurt. I don't know. I don't know what they do with Etienne. I wish they just trade him.
I honestly do too, because it's depressing every week that Tank Bigsby has more carries than Etienne. I don't know if Etienne just sucks all of a sudden. Like, is he bad now? Did he? I don't know.
He doesn't look like he's running very hard. Like he doesn't look like he's trying. Like I've seen Etienne run. Like the guy's actually got talent. He does not look like he's trying right now.
He
doesn't
may
look
not.
like he cares.
They're 2-7. He might have mailed it in.
I'm hopeful maybe next year, in a contract year, be he with the Jaguars or somebody else if they trade him. Maybe then he acts like he's got some sense and hits the juice because he's got juice. He's not playing like it right now.
No. Speaking of teams that are playing like they don't have any juice, the Cardinals beat the Bears 29-9. And
this game was so incredibly frustrating for me.
I'm sure it was.
Because I got Kyler in a couple leagues, a couple contending teams that have Kyler. I've got Trey McBride on a contending team. I've got Marvin Harrison on a rebuild, so him sucking doesn't really hurt. It actually helped me more than anything because I beat Landon in the Grand Eddie Mall because Marvin Harrison had like 3 points. But I mean, the Cardinals were dominated, and no one did anything for fantasy on their team. Amari DiMarcado and Trey Benson, There's one team I know of out there that started Trey Benson, and it's my rebuilding team in the Scramble League, in the Scramble League Dynasty, Liam.
I started
That's because
him.
I traded everyone, and I don't have anyone else.
I've been starting him in that team that has nobody left. And of course, he was good. Yeah, they were terrible. I mean, they won. They scored 29 points and won, but it was gross. And for the Bears, I mean, how many more weeks of terrible do we have to have before we start having a conversation about saying Waldron?
Hopefully after Caleb Williams' press conference where they're like, ask him why you were in the game, he's like, I don't know, you're going to have to ask the coaches. And somebody, I can't remember where I saw it, but they were interviewing DJ Moore, and they straight up asked him, hey, have they lost the locker room? And DJ Moore said, I don't want to say no. I'm like, well, that's the most telling answer I've ever heard. Like, yes, they have lost the locker room.
And what's crazy is they're 500. They're not terrible, and they have a shot at the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily do anymore because they're actually a very good team, and they're in my opinion, the clear fourth best team in the division right now. Like, the Lions are honestly probably the best team in football, and then you've got the Vikings are extremely good, and the Packers are underperforming, and I think they're 5-3. So, I mean,
they're 6-3, yeah.
6-3, yeah. And they're not even playing up to how good they could be.
Yeah. They are a Ben Johnson hire away from being electric. The Bears.
That would be fantastic. I really hope that Ben Johnson is on the Cincinnati Bengals next year, but I might be clinging to false hope.
Like, what are the... So there's 3 teams that I can think of that would really love Ben Johnson's services next year. The Jaguars to work with Trevor Lawrence, the Bears to work with Caleb Williams, or obviously the Bengals.
So, and the reason I think I lean so hard to the Bengals is something that Ben Johnson actually said, because they asked him this past offseason that they were like, why didn't you somewhere this past season? Because, like, the Commanders were open, and, the Chargers were open. Like, those felt like good landing spots. And he was like, he's happy where he's at in the Lions, which, I mean, fair enough. You're winning games. Everybody seems to love Dan Campbell. You're good at your job. You're going to be in the NFC Championship. And B, he said, I want to go somewhere where I've got a future and potential a second contract, not be one of those 3 years and you're out head coaches either, which, I mean, fair enough. I can get that, which makes me lean the Bengals so hard. I'm like, okay, you get Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You think you're not going to get a second contract if you're an offensive wizard with those guys? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you will. Speaking of the Lions, they beat the Packers 24-14, and I don't know if you saw this.
At this point.
I don't know if you saw the stat, but in the last, I think, 6 games, Jared Goff, or the offense, I should say, the offense has more touchdowns than Jared Goff has incompletions.
I saw that.
That's crazy.
I think they have 28 touchdowns. He has 26 incompletions.
That is the most insane stat I think I've ever seen.
Is this legitimately, this could be one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen. We're talking like the 99 Rams, the greatest show on turf, the 2006 Patriots, 2007 Patriots, like up there with those offenses.
Yeah. So the sample size that they're pulling from does not include week 1 or 2 for that incompletions bit. Outside of week 2 against Tampa Bay, the offense scored 16 points. They scored 26 against the Rams in week 1, 16 in week 2, 20 in week 3 against Arizona, and then they got rolling. 42 against Seattle, 47 against Dallas, 31 against Minnesota, 52 against the Titans, and then 24 on Sunday.
They're built different right now.
Yeah, they're incredible.
You talk about a team you don't want to play. Like, I mean, I understand they have one loss and the Chiefs are undefeated, but do you think the Lions are better than the Chiefs right now?
Yes.
I think they
do.
are.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they have them and the Ravens both are built to have something taken away and still be good. They don't have right now, like, they don't have, they've already lost Aiden Hutchinson for the year. In the past 2 weeks, they haven't had Jamison Williams. Yeah. Yeah, they have not had their deep threat, and it doesn't matter. Because they run the ball probably better than anybody in the league outside the Ravens. And it's the only reason the Ravens are better is because they have the best running quarterback in the history of football. But, like...
It's so crazy how every single week Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery get theirs. Like, you want to talk like it's a timeshare. Like, it doesn't matter. The offense is so good that they support 2 RB1s. How often does that happen?
Not very often. And usually when it happens, it's because of touchdowns. And yes, they are scoring touchdowns, but Gibbs had 65 yards and Montgomery had 73. And that's pretty much par for the course.
Yeah, like every single week, both of those running backs are hitting 75 yards plus, be it receiving, rushing combination. Every week.
Yeah, they're incredible. The Packers on the other side.
The only person who suffers from it, is Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
That's the only piece of the offense who sucks.
Yeah, and they could break him out if they needed to. You could see him break out of the coffin if
They're just keeping him in the back pocket.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. The Packers. Jordan Love has 273 yards and a pick. Wasn't great, but Jaden Reed still got his. He had 5 for 113. Josh Jacobs had 95.
Josh Jacobs is really looking good as of late.
Yeah, he's looking quite good. That contract that they got him on, it is not a 1-year deal or 2-year deal the way we were potentially talking about it. That's going to be the full 3-4 years.
If he keeps playing like this, yeah. You have no reason to let him go.
Yeah, he's quite good. Anything else on them before we jump to Rams, Seahawks?
Nah.
So before we have our sugar, let's take our medicine. It's not really medicine. The Rams, Kyron Williams has no touchdowns for the first time in what feels like a decade, which was great because I was playing him in
23
Mully.
touches.
Still
Didn't matter.
Yeah, still had a million touches. Puka Nacua punched the dude, got ejected, which meant that Cooper Kupp had 11 catches for 100 yards.
Classic Cup.
I mean,
Classic Cup.
I was having the conversation with you. I would have been furious because I almost started Puka over Cooper Kupp, and I was just looking for reasons not to, and the reason ultimately was the report coming out before games started that Puka Nacua was going to try to play. It turned into 1 catch for 11 yards.
I would like to say I still told you to start Cup regardless.
You did, and ultimately, instead of putting Puka in or whatever the other options were, I think the 2 best options ended up what I picked. It was Chuba and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, it was a gutsy call to put Chuba over Puka Nacua, but it paid off.
Thank goodness that report came out, because if there was nothing and they were just like, he's going to play, he's healthy, I would have had to start him. And I was terrified.
Yeah, it would have. Last week, it was limited snaps, but if they had come out and said, like, he's going to be on limited snaps, I'm like, you don't bench Puka. But it was the Puka is going to try to play. Like, yeah, that worries me.
It's like, does that mean he's going to play 3 snaps and do the T. Higgins treatment where it's like, nope, not today?
Yeah, no, I don't like try to play. I like is going to play.
Yeah. And he would have played, but then he punched it.
Apparently he thought it was the UFC.
Goodness. And it couldn't, I mean, he's just such a happy guy, and I guess somebody got under his skin.
I did see the replay of it. He didn't really punch a guy. There was like hand fighting and like they were pushing each other.
Oh.
It wasn't like a full on punch.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, whatever the ref saw, he was like, you're out. I'm like, okay.
Okay, well. The Seahawks lost, but Geno Smith threw 363 yards. And your
Geno
boy,
looked like prime Jameson Winston out there.
yeah, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. That was 2019, 2018, Jameis.
Whenever Jameis went 30 for 30.
It's still an incredible stat line, by the way.
We'll never see its like again.
No. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 7 for 180 and 2.
I can't believe I benched JSN. I'm so angry about this. I'm so angry. It was between JSN or Kareem Hunt. Now, if Kareem Hunt goes out there and outscores Rachaad White by 10 points, it'll be fine. But if I could just have started Jackson Smith and Jigba, it'd have been great.
So
He's awesome.
We were talking about the dynasty rank for Jackson Smith and Jigba earlier today, but he is currently the wide receiver 14. I was looking at dynasty ranks earlier today, and he is wide receiver 32 on Fantasy Pros dynasty ranks, which I will admit is quite low.
That feels low.
But he's in such an interesting spot where you have takes like what Landon has said on the Dynasty Show, that he thinks he'll be a top 15 Dynasty wide receiver by the end of the year.
That was part of our predictions episode.
Yeah, he could be. Like, if he keeps doing stuff like this, certainly you're gonna have that conversation.
Well, I mean, he's top 15 right now. I mean, now obviously he had a 30-point game to put him there. But I think if he stays in the top 20 rest of the season, I think he'll be top 15 dynasty receiver.
Yes, the problem is he's not the one on his own team, so DK probably needs to be ahead of him. And then there's just a lot of names. Rashee Rice is injured. I would prefer him. Brandon Ayuk is injured. You can have a conversation.
That's a different conversation. Rashee Rice is top 10 with a blown out knee.
Right.
I mean,
it's Jaden Reed, it's Brandon Ayuk, it's DK, it's DJ Moore, there's a lot of guys, and those are.
I think he warrants conversation to be right next to those names.
But there's like 7 names, and that's outside of the top 15. That is wide receiver 16 and beyond. So it's.
Well, I would like to say this prediction from Landon was an end of season thing. So we are still only 9 weeks in. It's still a little early to say it right now. Let's check back in at the end of the season.
It could happen. It is so clogged, though. 15 to 30 for wide receivers is a cluster.
It is rough.
It's
That's
a good problem
thing,
to have,
I would say, for fantasy.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of good players out there.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. Last game
His
of the
prediction's looking good, though. I'll say that.
Yes.
As it sits, it's looking good.
Last game of the week, the Sunday night game, Minnesota beat the Vikings 21-13, and this was a despicable game to put on national TV. Joe Flacco had a better completion percentage, but you lost all the potential excitement.
That's all they wanted.
It basically was the same result. They scored 13 points. They lost.
They want to see that 50% in the stat column.
I know Anthony Richardson was the worst passer in football there for the whole season. For the season. Not there for a little bit. There for the whole year. But just let him play. Joe Flacco doesn't do anything for you. Just let him play.
I'll say this in defense of Joe Flacco. He is better than Anthony Richardson right now. And I do think Anthony Richardson needs to sit and learn for a little bit. And the Vikings defense is also extremely good.
It is. Yeah.
The conversation I think that I want to have here with the Colts is Josh Downs and Michael Pittman related conversations.
That is a conversation that I don't want to have, but I think we probably need to have.
Michael Pittman is practically a non-factor, and Josh Downs, he's the wide receiver 1 on his team. I mean, he's a wide receiver 2 when Joe Flacco plays.
Yeah, Michael Pittman the last 2 weeks. So When was it? Was it before the or after the Jacksonville game? So like 4 or 5 weeks ago that he almost went on IR and then said, "Nope, I'm not going on IR."
Yeah. That was the greatest afternoon turnaround I've seen. Is like Michael Pittman's going on IR. In the press conference, he says, "Nah, I'm good," and starts the next day.
Yeah. So
That's legendary.
the game that he came back and played in, that was the Titans game, if I remember correctly. He had 35 yards and a touchdown in that game. And then against Miami, it was 3 for 63, that is nice. But then the last 2 weeks, 1 for 16 and 1 for 14. I'm starting to think that maybe he should have gone on IR.
You know, that would have been helpful. Because things ain't going well for him.
It's not good. And Josh Downs has been...
It's not looking positive
Josh Downs has
for
been
our
quite
friend
good.
Anthony Richardson. Or Michael Pittman, sorry.
I mean, I'm seeing Downs' stat line, and it's 60 yards a week, pretty much.
Let's see. I was trying to find what his fantasy finishes have been this year. I know it's all been good. When especially when Flacco plays, he's been the wide receiver 4, 16, 8. I mean, he's getting 9, 12, 9, 9, 3, and 5 are his target total. I mean, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, that's quite good. He might. You could make the argument, and I wouldn't say you're crazy. He's probably the wide receiver 1 for the team the rest of the year.
I think that's true, and I think if Joe Flacco, which they have said Joe Flacco is starting the rest of the year, and if that's the case, then I'm flexing Josh Downs anywhere I have him.
Yeah. For the Vikings, I got nothing to say other than Justin Jefferson's awesome. But outside of that,
He's so good. T.J. Hawkinson, welcome back.
yep.
4 targets, 3 catches. I wasn't really expecting anything else for his first game off of a huge knee injury, but it's good to see him back out there. And I expect him just to be better the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean he's going to work his way back into it. I was just pulling up Justin Jefferson's game logs, just because. This is insanity. Week 1, 59 yards. And by the way, he's only got 1 game over 10 targets. He had 14 targets against the Jets.
That's crazy.
1 game over
That's
10
crazy.
targets, and he has, these are the yardage totals: 59, 133, 81, 85, 92, 81, 115, 137.
He's the best receiver in football.
We knew this,
He
and
might
yet
be
it's
the best
still,
offensive player in football.
It is it's shocking. I mean, I don't know how much people are talking about it because we already know he's good. But I need to look up the pace, because the pace that he's on.
And I love how Len and I have talked about this before. Justin Jefferson is frustrating to play against because he's not one of those guys that is all it takes is one play. He's not one of those guys. It's like every quarter, Justin Jefferson gets 5 points. And like you can sit there and watch it. You're playing Justin Jefferson. He's like, all right, 5 points. We're at 10 points at halftime, 15 points in the third quarter, 23 points in the fourth quarter. Like, okay. It's just, it just goes up constantly the whole game.
This dude's on pace for 1,750 yards.
And he's not even the wide receiver 1 for fantasy.
No. But he's first
That's
in
Jamar
yardage.
Chase.
He's first in yardage, and he's got 5 touchdowns in 8 games.
I think that's all we need to say about the Lions, the Vikings offense is just take a few minutes and just talk about how good Justin Jefferson is.
Dude,
Everybody knows it, but I still want to talk about it.
You know, sometimes it's just fun to talk about how excellent certain players are, because
Let's take a minute and enjoy what we're witnessing.
I mean, he's got 69 targets. Nice. 48 catches,
Nice.
783 yards.
I love him. He's one of my favorite offensive players. He's up there with like my favorite players of like he's probably not far behind Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. That realm of guys for me. He's so much fun to watch, dude.
Yeah, and you can't stop him. You can't stop him at all.
Chargers, trade for him.
Oh boy.
Trade for him.
You know, I don't want him
Could
to
you
trade
imagine?
for him because he would not have Kevin O'Connell calling plays for him.
No. That's the difference. Not that Justin Jefferson wouldn't be amazing anywhere, but Kevin O'Connell is a wizard.
Yeah, he gets Justin Jefferson into advantageous situations. Well, and it's
Like how is I look at the Bengals and Jamar Chase has doubled every single play. How is Justin Jefferson constantly single covered when he's with the Vikings? How?
They line him up where they know that he's going to have single coverage. It's great.
Every time, man.
It is great.
Kevin O'Connell, go to the Bengals. Go to the Bengals. And take Justin Jefferson with you.
Have a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase stack out there for Joe Burrow.
With Joe Burrow.
Oh, boy.
They would never lose
we've
again.
seen it
They would
before.
not lose.
We've seen it before.
They would not lose.
Oh,
They wouldn't lose.
no wonder they were the greatest
You
college team
want
ever.
somebody. You want exactly. You look at that team. You're like, hold on. You had a top 3 NFL quarterback and 2 top 5 NFL receivers.
Goodness gracious.
No wonder Joe Burrow threw for he's 60 touchdowns that year.
Goodness
He threw 60 touchdowns in a college season.
in the SEC.
Yeah, against like Pat Surtain was at Alabama at that time, like elite defenders roaming out there in the SEC. Joe Burrow dropped 40 points a game.
Good Lord. Do you have any predictions for Buccaneers Chiefs?
I think the Chiefs win another ugly game.
I am disgusted by how much I agree with you.
Yeah, it's going to be another 20-17. Probably worse than 2017, just with the Bucs' weapons all out. It'd probably be like 24-13, something like that. Just it's going to be a boring slugfest, and I'm not going to be happy after I finish watching it. I'm just not going to be. I'm not going to have enjoyed my time. They're going to show Taylor Swift like 92 times on the channel on the screen. You know, whenever Travis Kelce is on the field, they flip over to Taylor Swift. I don't even care that she's dating Travis Kelce. I'm here to watch the football game. That's all I want to see.
I mean, I have no opinions. I could not care either way. But
We'll trade deadline tomorrow, though.
yeah, I'm interested to see what goes down.
Is that the only thing that's happening tomorrow?
Oh, yes. I don't think anything else
That's the only thing.
happening.
Nothing else is happening? Nothing
I mean,
happening?
This episode is going out on Tuesday and the trade deadline. That's it. There's nothing else worth talking
that's the
about.
only things that are happening.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Not a thing.
I wonder how many times this is, I'm just genuinely curious, between the trade deadline and the other big thing that's happening tomorrow evening, how many times am I and the rest of the world going to refresh Twitter? Can you imagine? Elon, there's got to be some kind of number out there like that's tracked somewhere in your system how many times it's refreshed. I want you to release Wednesday morning how many times that happened.
There's going to be quite a lot of doom scrolling on Twitter.
It's got to be in
tomorrow.
the billions.
It's going to be a lot. Looking forward to it. It's
going to be exciting.
On that happy note, or disappointment, depending on how you look at things, that's all we got.
I don't know where you stand on it. Yeah.
At this time, tomorrow evening, may worlds be changed. I don't know. But
Twitter is going to be. Yeah, just keep your eyes out. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow.
it's going to be wild. Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe. Don't drink too much Tuesday evening. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you later this week.